Final thoughts. What if Lungu isn't buried in Zambia? If Edgar Lungu is not buried in Zambia, the implications would be profound for the nation, the region, and the Lungu family's legacy. Several key considerations arise. National identity and mourning. A South African burial would deprive Zambians of the opportunity to collectively mourn their former president, potentially deepening public divisions. Embassy Park, as the traditional resting place for presidents, symbolizes national unity and continuity. Excluding Lungu from this site could be seen as a break from tradition, fueling perceptions of political vindictiveness by the Hichilema administration, PBS or Gambaqui.com. Political fallout. The Patriotic Front and Lungu supporters could leverage a South African burial to criticize the government, framing it as a betrayal of Lungu's legacy and a sign of authoritarian overreach. This could galvanize opposition ahead of Zambia's 2026 elections, intensifying political polarization. New York Times, Lusakatimes.com. Diplomatic relations. A burial in South Africa could strain Zambia-South Africa relations, particularly if South African groups continue to oppose it on immigration or precedent grounds. Conversely, South Africa's neutral stance could strengthen its reputation as a mediator, but only if the process is handled diplomatically. Family's perspective. For the Lungu family, a South African burial would fulfill Edgar's wishes and protect his dignity from perceived government interference. However, it could alienate them from sections of the Zambian public who view a state funeral as a national right. The family's ongoing legal battles, particularly Esther Lungu's corruption charges, could further complicate their public image. TheGuardian.com, Daily Maverick, O.ZA. Regional precedent. A South African burial would be unprecedented for a foreign head of state, potentially encouraging other families of African leaders to seek burials abroad to avoid state control. This could challenge established protocols and spark debates about the rights of former leaders' families versus state obligations. Gambaqui.com. Cultural significance. In Zambia, a Christian-majority nation, burial practices carry deep cultural and religious weight. A private burial abroad might be seen as a rejection of communal mourning traditions, causing distress among citizens who wish to honor Lungu at home. BBC.com. Ultimately, the resolution of this dispute will shape Zambia's political narrative and its approach to honoring former leaders. Whether Lungu is buried in Zambia or South Africa, the case underscores the enduring impact of political rivalries and the delicate balance between state authority and personal wishes. The August 4, 2025 hearing will be a defining moment, not only for Lungu's legacy, but for the broader discourse on governance, dignity, and national unity in Africa. Barack Obama arrested. The world is stunned as reports of secret Trump-issued orders leak. But here's what no one expected: an alleged African connection involving Zambia and Burkina Faso's rising revolutionary leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Could Africa's new alliances be influencing global power plays? Could Traoré and Zambia have triggered a political earthquake in Washington? This is the most explosive story of the year, and it's far from overt shocking. Former U.S. President Barack Obama may have been secretly arrested following executive actions tied to Donald Trump. Now, new intelligence suggests a hidden African connection involving Zambia's diplomatic network and Burkina Faso's military leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. In this eye-opening exposé, we investigate how Obama's past African policies, Zambia's shifting alliances, and Traoré's anti-Western stance may have played a quiet role in one of the boldest political twists in modern American history. This video connects U.S. power politics, African nationalism, and hidden agendas that mainstream media won't touch. Subscribe to InspirAfrica Official for deep investigations that connect Africa to the world stage. Obama arrested, real or rumor? The claim that former U.S. President Barack Obama has been arrested is a rumor without credible evidence. This narrative stems from a viral AI-generated video shared by President Donald Trump on his Truth Social platform on July 21, 2025, depicting Obama being apprehended by FBI agents in the Oval Office, set to the tune of YMCA by the Village People. The video, which originated on TikTok, is clearly fabricated, using manipulated footage from a real November 2016 meeting between Obama and then-President-elect Trump. The video shows Obama being forced to his knees and arrested, a depiction some critics, like Anita Chabria of the Los Angeles Times, have labeled as racially charged due to its imagery of a prominent black figure in submission to LA Times, NewYorkTimes.com. The rumor gained traction amid allegations from Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, who, on July 18, 2025, released declassified documents claiming that Obama and his administration orchestrated a treasonous conspiracy to undermine Trump's 2016 election victory by fabricating evidence of Russian interference. Gabbard's accusations, detailed in a 114-page report, suggest that Obama's team manipulated intelligence, including the controversial Steele dossier, to delegitimize Trump's presidency. These claims have been amplified by Trump, who, during a July 22, 2025, Oval Office meeting with the Philippine president, accused Obama of treason, stating he's guilty. This was treason. dailymail.co.uk, independent.co.uk, foxnews.com. However, the allegations lack substantive evidence. The documents Gabbard released, including a 2017 House Intelligence Committee report drafted by Republicans, do not provide conclusive proof of criminal behavior by Obama or his team. A 2020 bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee report, endorsed by Republicans like Marco Rubio, reaffirmed that Russia sought to influence the 2016 election to favor Trump, contradicting Gabbard's narrative. Critics, including Democrats like Representative Jim Himes, have called her claims baseless and politically motivated. Obama's spokesperson, Patrick Rodenbush, dismissed the accusations as ridiculous and a weak attempt at distraction, noting that the office typically avoids responding to such misinformation but felt compelled to address these bizarre claims. New York Times, Washington Post, Amazon.com. The timing of the rumor coincides with Trump's administration facing scrutiny over its handling of Jeffrey Epstein-related files, suggesting the Obama arrest narrative may be a diversion tactic. Posts on X have fueled the rumor, with users like @JoshHall2024 and @CameronBailey claiming Obama's involvement in a coup warrants prosecution. But these posts lack verifiable evidence and reflect partisan sentiment rather than fact. In conclusion, the idea of Obama's arrest is a rumor driven by a fake video and unproven allegations, lacking credible evidence and dismissed by Obama's team and independent analysts. The narrative appears to be a politically motivated effort to shift focus from other controversies. What did Trump really sign? The prompt, "What did Trump really sign?" likely refers to speculation about executive actions or documents signed by President Trump, particularly in the context of recent political controversies. However, without specific details in the provided references, I'll address this by examining Trump's documented actions in 2025, focusing on significant executive orders or policies that align with the time frame and political climate described in the sources. Since retaking office in January 2025, Trump has been associated with several high-profile actions, though specific executive orders signed in July 2025 are not detailed in the provided references. One notable action is his administration's decision to defund Power Africa, a flagship Obama-era initiative aimed at bringing electricity to 600 million people across Africa. This decision, reported on July 11, 2025, effectively halted a program that had deployed $1.2 billion and leveraged $29 billion in additional funds for renewable energy projects across 42 African countries. The move was criticized by climate finance experts for disrupting Africa's energy transition, though some argued that other organizations like the World Bank could fill the GAP'd independent UK. Additionally, Trump's administration has been linked to the declassification of documents by Tulsi Gabbard, which he claims expose Obama-era misconduct. While Trump himself did not sign these documents, his vocal support for Gabbard's actions, including reposting her claims on Truth Social, suggests he endorsed this effort. These documents, released on July 18, 2025, were sent to the Department of Justice for a criminal referral, though no specific executive order tied to this action is mentioned. FoxNews.com. Trump's broader policy actions in 2025 include controversial moves like granting refugee status to 59 white Afrikaner farmers from South Africa based on discredited claims of white genocide. This decision, highlighted during a May 2025 meeting with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa, reflects Trump's use of executive authority to advance polarizing narratives, often amplified by advisors like Elon Musk and PR.org. Without a specific document or executive order referenced in the prompt, it's possible the question alludes to Trump's broader pattern of using executive actions to challenge predecessors' legacies, e.g. defunding Power Africa, or to support allies like Gabbard in political vendettas. If the question refers to a specific signing event, further details would be needed to pinpoint it. For now, Trump's most prominent signings in 2025 involve policy reversals and symbolic endorsements of controversial claims, often aimed at reshaping narratives around his presidency and opponents like Obama. Tulsi Gabbard's role revealed. Tulsi Gabbard's role as Director of National Intelligence (DNI), appointed by President Trump and confirmed by the Senate on February 12, 2025, with a 52-48 vote, has placed her at the center of a contentious political storm. Her actions in July 2025, particularly her release of declassified documents alleging a treasonous conspiracy by Obama's administration, have revealed her as a key figure in Trump's efforts to challenge the narrative of Russian interference in the 2016 election. Fox News, ComDNI.gov. Gabbard, a former Democratic congresswoman who shifted to a MAGA-aligned Republican, announced on July 18, 2025, the declassification of over 100 documents, including a 114-page report claiming that Obama and his national security team, figures like James Clapper, John Brennan, James Comey, and Susan Rice, fabricated intelligence to suggest Russia helped Trump win in 2016. She labeled this a years-long coup to undermine Trump's presidency, citing the Steele dossier as a key piece of manufactured evidence. Gabbard's office sent these documents to the DOJ and FBI for a criminal referral, escalating the controversy by accusing Obama of treason. The Daily Mail, UKFoxNews.com. Her claims have sparked intense debate. Supporters, including Trump and allies like Stephen Miller and Senator Mike Lee, praise her for exposing alleged deep state corruption. Trump, on July 22, 2025, thanked Gabbard in front of GOP lawmakers, claiming she proved Obama cheated in the elections. Posts on X, such as those from at the InspirAfrica and at Official Callow, echo this sentiment, portraying Gabbard as a whistleblower uncovering a historic scandal. Time.com. Critics, however, argue that Gabbard's actions politicize the traditionally apolitical D&I role. Democrats like Senator Mark Warner and Representative Jim Himes have called her accusations baseless and reckless, noting that her report relies on a partisan 2017 House Intelligence Committee document and misrepresents the 2016 intelligence community's findings. A 2020 Senate report, backed by Republicans, confirmed Russia's interference, undermining Gabbard's narrative. Analysts suggest her document release risks exposing sensitive intelligence sources and methods, potentially harming U.S. alliances. Politico.com, WashingtonPost.com. Gabbard's motivations are debated. Some see her as genuinely committed to transparency, citing whistleblowers who reportedly came forward after her document release. Others, including a senior U.S. intelligence official, dismiss speculation about her seeking to boost her standing in Trump's administration, calling it incredibly stupid. Her appearance at a July 23, 2025 White House press briefing, where she doubled down on her claims, underscores her central role in Trump's narrative of retribution against perceived enemies. Politico.com, FoxNews.com. In summary, Gabbard's role as DNI has revealed her as a polarizing figure, leveraging her position to advance Trump's agenda while drawing criticism for politicizing intelligence and making unsubstantiated claims. Her actions have significant implications for U.S. political discourse and intelligence community trust. Zambia, the unexpected political player. Zambia's emergence as an unexpected political player in global politics likely refers to its growing influence in African and international affairs, driven by economic reforms, diplomatic engagement, and strategic positioning. While the provided references do not directly address Zambia's role in 2025, I'll analyze its recent trajectory based on historical context and broader African trends to explain this designation. Zambia, a landlocked southern African nation, has historically been a stable but understated player in regional politics. Since President Hakainde Hichilema's election in August 2021, Zambia has pursued ambitious economic recovery and diplomatic initiatives, positioning itself as a key player in Africa's evolving geopolitical landscape. Hichilema inherited a country burdened by debt default, Africa's first during the COVID-19 pandemic, and economic mismanagement under his predecessor Edgar Lungu. His administration's focus on anti-corruption, debt restructuring, and attracting foreign investment has drawn international attention. In 2023, Zambia secured a $1.3 billion extended credit facility from the IMF, signaling confidence in its reforms. The country also restructured $6.3 billion in external debt with creditors like China, a major lender, enhancing its financial credibility. These moves have made Zambia a model for other African nations navigating debt crises, boosting its diplomatic clout. Additionally, Zambia's rich copper deposits, critical for the global energy transition, have attracted investment from Western and Chinese firms, positioning it as a strategic player in the critical minerals race. Diplomatically, Zambia has strengthened ties with the US, EU, and African Union, hosting summits like the 2022 African Green Growth Forum to promote sustainable development. Hichilema's leadership in the Southern African Development Community (SADC) has also elevated Zambia's role in regional stability, particularly in mediating tensions in neighboring countries like the Democratic Republic of Congo. Zambia's unexpected prominence stems from its ability to leverage economic reforms and natural resources to gain influence disproportionate to its size. While not explicitly mentioned in the 2025 references, this aligns with Africa's broader rise in global politics as nations like Zambia capitalize on their strategic assets amid great power competition. Who is Captain Ibrahim Traoré? Captain Ibrahim Traoré is the military leader of Burkina Faso, who assumed power following a coup on September 30, 2022, ousting Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandaogo Damiba. At 34 years old during the coup, Traoré became one of Africa's youngest heads of state, leading the Patriotic Movement for Safeguard and Restoration (NPSR). His rise reflects a wave of military takeovers in West Africa, driven by frustration with governance, insecurity, and foreign influence. Traoré, born in 1988 in Bondakwi, Burkina Faso, joined the military in 2010 and rose to the rank of captain. He participated in the 2022 coup against President Roch Marc Christian Kabore alongside Damiba, but later led a second coup, citing Damiba's failure to curb jihadist insurgencies linked to Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State. Traoré declared himself interim president, promising to restore security and national sovereignty. His leadership is characterized by a nationalist, anti-imperialist stance, particularly against France, Burkina Faso's former colonial power. Traoré expelled French troops in 2023, ended military agreements with France, and pivoted toward Russia for security support. support, including Wagner Group mercenaries. He has also nationalized key industries and rallied public support through populist rhetoric, emphasizing self-reliance and Pan-Africanism. In 2024, he extended his transitional rule until 2029, citing ongoing security challenges, a move criticized by some as consolidating power. Traoré's global significance lies in his role as a symbol of Africa's younger generation rejecting Western influence while navigating complex partnerships with Russia and China. His policies resonate with Burkina Faso's youth, who see him as a charismatic leader fighting neo-colonialism, though critics warn of authoritarian tendencies and economic risks from isolating Western partners. Obama's African legacy backfires. The notion that Obama's African legacy backfires likely refers to challenges or criticisms surrounding initiatives like Power Africa, launched in 2013 to provide electricity to 600 million Africans. The program, a cornerstone of Obama's engagement with Africa, aimed to leverage U.S. aid to foster renewable energy projects. However, its termination by Trump in 2025, as reported by The Independent, raises questions about its long-term impact and perceived failures. Independent, the UK. Power Africa's achievements. Over 12 years, Power Africa invested $1.2 billion, catalyzing $29 billion in additional funds and connecting 200 million people to electricity across 42 countries. It supported 150 major projects, particularly in renewables, and facilitated $26.4 billion in U.S. business deals. The program was praised for bridging public and private sectors, reassuring investors about African markets. Independent, the UK. Why? Backfire. Trump's decision to defund Power Africa, announced in July 2025, disrupted its momentum, potentially undermining Obama's legacy. Critics argue the program was overly reliant on U.S. funding, making it vulnerable to political shifts. The anonymous climate finance expert cited in The Independent noted that the defunding could completely change the energy transition pathway for Africa, suggesting a setback for sustainable development. Additionally, some African nations viewed Power Africa as a tool of U.S. soft power, raising suspicions of neo-colonial motives, which align with the anti-Western sentiment expressed by leaders like Traore and Independent, the UK. Counterarguments. Experts like Philippe Balahou of the Private Infrastructure Development Group argue that the business case for African energy projects remains strong, with organizations like the World Bank and African Development Bank stepping in. The program's framework for public-private partnerships continues to influence initiatives like the Global Energy Alliance for People and Planet (GEP), suggesting Obama's vision persists despite the defunding. Independent, the UK. Broader context. The backfire narrative may also reflect political rhetoric. Trump's administration has framed Obama's policies, including Power Africa, as flawed or manipulative, as seen in Gabbard's allegations about Obama's broader legacy. This politicization may exaggerate the program's shortcomings to undermine Obama's reputation. NN.com. In conclusion, while Power Africa achieved significant milestones, its abrupt end and mixed reception in some African circles suggest a partial backfire. However, its foundational impact on Africa's energy sector endures, tempered by geopolitical and domestic U.S. political dynamics. The truth behind the headlines. The headlines surrounding Obama's alleged arrest, Gabbard's accusations, and Africa's political dynamics are steeped in misinformation, political maneuvering, and complex global shifts. The truth lies in separating fact from narrative. Obama arrest rumor. The claim is a fabrication, rooted in an AI-generated video and Gabbard's unproven allegations. No credible evidence supports Obama's involvement in a criminal conspiracy, and bipartisan reports affirm Russia's 2016 election interference, contradicting Gabbard's claims. New York Times. NewYorkTimes.com. Trump's actions. His support for Gabbard's narrative and defunding of Power Africa reflect a strategy to dismantle opponents' legacies while deflecting from controversies like the Epstein files. Independent. CNN.com. Gabbard's role. Her accusations, while attention-grabbing, lack substantiation and risk politicizing intelligence, drawing criticism from Democrats and intelligence officials. Politico.com. Africa's role. Zambia and leaders like Traore highlight Africa's growing agency, navigating great power competition and rejecting neo-colonial frameworks. However, U.S. policy shifts like defunding Power Africa complicate this rise. NPR.org. Independent, the UK. The headlines reflect a mix of truth, exaggeration, and distraction, driven by political agendas and global realignments. Final thoughts. Power, betrayal, and Africa's role. The interplay of power and betrayal is evident in the U.S. political drama and Africa's evolving role. Trump's accusations against Obama, amplified by Gabbard, represent a betrayal narrative aimed at consolidating power by discrediting rivals. This tactic, seen in the fake arrest video and treason claims, seeks to reshape public perception but lacks evidence. LA-Times.com. FoxNews.com. Africa's role, exemplified by Zambia's economic reforms and Traoré's nationalist leadership, reflects a continent asserting its power amid global competition. The betrayal felt by some African nations, evident in critiques of programs like Power Africa as neo-colonial, fuels a shift towards self-reliance and new partnerships with Russia and China. Independent, the UK. Ultimately, these dynamics underscore a world where power is contested through narratives, alliances, and resources. crisis. Africa's rise challenges traditional hierarchies, while U.S. political battles reveal the fragility of truth in polarized times. Critical examination of these narratives is essential to understanding the global landscape.